Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in again. Today, Angel and I are going to be talking to you guys about how taking the time to get to know yourself will help you find that inner peace, which will allow you to kind of see where you really want to take yourself and what kind of goals you want to even set up for yourself. And how, when you're aligning with the ideals of unifying others, doing things that are going to be a benefit for the environment, for the future, your goals are going to happen a lot faster because you're doing it more with gratitude and this energy and this passion for a positive outlook rather than just trying to manifest these materialistic houses and cars and fancy things. Like, all that stuff is great and you're going to be able to enjoy them. But for today, we're going to be talking about how just that importance of getting to know yourself really will help you develop those ideas.
Yeah, that's right. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you want to know more about us, you can go on our Instagram. It's projecting
We
beyond
are
reality.
controlling. We are controlling. We are controlling transmission.
Oh, should we start?
Yeah, fuck it, why not? I think it's a good conversation about how we kind of tend to approach things in different ways instead of just getting in there and just being stressed out because you got so many things going on.
Yeah. No, yeah,
To
I
do.
mean, like you were saying, if you're looking at like building a website and you have the photos to edit, you have the content to put out, you have to write the copy, or you have to do whatever. Like, if you don't know exactly where to start, just write everything down that you feel like you need to do, and then you could basically almost like cut them into little things, put them in a hat, and then just like choose one and just stick with that one, finish it, and then just go down the next thing, grab another thing off to do off the list. And then if you like that process, keep it. If you want to change it, just try it again, but recognize where like your strengths are. Like, maybe what you struggle, what takes the longest to get done, maybe that's what you do first, because then the rest is real easy. Like, as you start to learn, you'll develop the process. But as opposed to like trying to figure out the process before
Right.
you start, like I said, sometimes it's better like write everything you feel like you need to do down, and then just choose one, and just
Yeah.
just be like, that's the one, and then go with it, because otherwise you just get lost. You get too many
Yeah,
things
no,
going on.
100%. It's like right now, like I'm looking at my board. I have my board right here. So I have like boxes. So I have like events. So I want to do events so like that we can shoot content. So some of them even connect with each other, And then I have like on the other one have like so website. I got to put the mask on there and like the new hats that we just got. And then you have like content. So I have to get content from for the mask and the hats so I can put it onto the website. So kind
Right,
of like
right.
so obviously it brings me back to all right, let's go get photos. So but that does work though, writing about it and so you can see it and then you can think about it as you kind of read it. Like I just did right now. Like, okay, well, without none of those, I can't have if I don't have photos, I won't be able to put it on our website, and I can't show it on my content or go for a hike and record video because um because it will not be on to because I didn't get the content to begin with to
Yeah.
do all those. So
But
and then
I think though too, to like, because I mean, you've been doing it for a little bit now, but like, to
I'm still
be at the
learning.
point
Yeah.
where, yeah, but to be at the point where you're still starting, like you're saying, like, okay, we'll have to get these photos together and this and that. Like, just remind yourself too, it's just a mask. You have a phone. Instead of trying to contact people or set up a thing to go to do it, just put the mask on and take a selfie. That's it. Like, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to always do all those things, but it's something where like, but because you've been doing it for like a little bit, you've gotten to that step now where you want to have a good photo or this and that. But if it's like, with the state we're in and it's hard to necessarily get out and get people
Right.
together, like you said, just don't stress yourself out about it. Just be like, you know what? It's okay if I just take like a selfie of me in this mask and then just post that for now, like, and just
Exactly. So kind of
simplify.
yeah, kind of like rearrange what's going on. So yeah, that's why that's exactly the process. So then I'm like, okay, well, can I do that right now? What can I do? So like what you said, like taking a selfie, posting it, and then or it's kind of random, just laying a shirt, taking a picture, and then posting it, or things like that. Or even what I'm going back to is like older photos that I had, and just editing those and just putting it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like who talks about it? I heard about like Gary Vee. Like he was talking about like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be content. Content is
Right.
content, and your message is gonna get across. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That kind of really.
No, honestly, if you
no, because some people stress about it. It's like
yeah, but honestly, if you go through his like Instagram profile, you see that he just posts a bunch of stuff like all the time. Like sometimes it doesn't make any sense, like in as far as like the order he's been doing stuff, but he just posts it as he feels like it, and that's the key. Like, don't wait. Like, you don't have to do it for like likes and follows. You just do it.
Yeah, because that's in the beginning. That's where we were trying to wrap our, like, when everything started, we were trying to wrap our mind of like, oh man, like what if people don't like us? What if we don't get them enough likes? And then throughout, because I had a long process of where like things were coming to me, like podcasts. I would be listening to like podcasts, and they would be telling me like the things I needed to hear there at that day, so it can make sense out of whatever I wanted to do with the product, like the brand. And they would tell you, well, take pictures, make sure you look great, and then you get other ones like, okay, like content is content. It doesn't matter what it is, and then just keep doing it, one step after the other. And then I'm like, well, okay, well, where do I really want to go in between that would help the brand? So our brand has to be, genuine. It can't just be like all robotic, all perfect all the time. I mean, right? And then and still have that vision as like, okay, we're still a good a company behind it, even if the product is out there. It's not gonna be representative of how that business is run.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, I think we're on this swing too, where like it's going to be more important for a brand to have a strong mission statement and back it. Like if you're a company like, even let's say like Nike, like if you don't start really making sure like your stuff is being manufactured the right way and the proper way, like in like a 10, 20 more years, like you may start to really fade out, because there's all these more like conscious companies coming up, recycling, made in better working conditions and things like that. And, people are starting to even spend a little bit more money on those things. And because of that, if you don't have that, you could be any type of brand, but if you aren't backing it with like a good mission, a good way to bring a community together, like you're not gonna last as long as those places,
Right.
Like, because that's the thing, and as artists or as designers, musicians or whatever, I think in that creative field, there always can be so much judgment on what's being put out, or well, why is that person making it? Their stuff isn't as good.
Yeah.
But the thing is because they probably have a better personality, a better mission, a better sense of life, more peace, more happiness. And that's, people would rather be around that. So, I mean, that's just how you're going to attract people.
Yeah. Like exactly, like being genuine and just doing what you want to do with your brand being you. Really, you're going to be representing it. And then like you were saying, like self-conscious, okay, well, what's going on right now? Okay, well, right now, our economy, we like it or not, it's been screwed since so long ago because we just keep lending. So we're like, okay, well, let's think, USA products. So we purchase like the masks that we're making. It's like US made. They actually made in LA. And then, I'm like, all right, perfect. That can help the economy. So kind of things like that. Thinking about like, okay, well, let's go green. Let's go like hemp instead of cotton, because how cotton is how it's different manufacturer. So
right.
And then showing that, and then the point where I was getting with that is that so I'm like, well, we don't want to be perfect, but we don't want to seem fake. So let's just post how we really are. So that's why we have if I just reflect on my Instagram, we have like some good pictures, some all right, some good, some okay, but it's still kind of like variation of different things. So that is like that's where we kind of want to come across, because of we know we're not all perfect. We know what we can and can't do, and with that awareness, it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. That I kind of will reflect the brand. That hey, you don't have to be this specific type of person to be accepted to this brand or whatever, you know, because that's really what we're trying to break out too. You know how some brand is just specific for certain people and then just make it like all tribal and just a certain way.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you're just limiting yourself to so much, like, you know, like,
yeah.
And that's the thing.
I mean, unfortunately, and I think unfortunately too.
Which I'm not hating on those.
No. Well, just because sometimes I was going to say, I think people do that to brands. You know, like I think sometimes people will take something and then say, oh, well, this is a certain type of way and only this person can wear it. But the company never really said that, you know, like there, I think, because even in terms of like movies, you know, like some people just want to enjoy a Star Wars movie and some people want you to like know the whole encyclopedia of the movie. But Star Wars just wants to make money and be able to create Star Wars. You know, they don't really need it to be exclusive. So I think sometimes it just happens, you know, so I think it's important for the brand to like kind of suggest like when they're putting on their social media, like we are for everybody, you know, so if certain people start to make it exclusive, just remind to the audience that it's not, you know, so it's just.
and I think just from what like what you post and what I'm kind of like seeing from my side, seeing like your art is like, yeah, like he's doing constantly, he really enjoys it. Like this is his purpose. You can actually say that because you can tell on how like everything you post and on your art is like, oh damn, like it's sick. I went all the way down your history all the way down. I'm like, I didn't click on the date, but I saw like the last photo, and then I kind of from all on the bottom to the top. I'm like, dang, you're coming a long way. It's like such difference.
Yeah.
It's like it blew my
I know, it's crazy. Like even today, like, you know, Instagram likes to remind you of your life a year ago. And I was just like looking at something that I did and I was like, man, like that's so even just like knowing where I was last year, knowing what I was drawing, and then like looking at what's like happening now that I'm making, I'm like, all right, like I'm trusting this process even more because it's only like I feel like everything I do just like speeds up because I'm just putting that out there that I kind of want it to happen faster, you know, but you know, like, you know, this year put everything, it put events on pause, but it didn't put creativity on pause, you know, so it really allowed me to like reflect on myself and then to find more like the inner visionary to come get the ideas finally out and have more confidence in around how I'm getting them done, you know, so because right now, like I moved to a lot more digital because just I don't have space for canvases. But then I realized, like, you know, I can design digitally and just create prints, and you can do canvas prints and put them on T-shirts that way. So I was just thinking, you know, like you don't always have to worry about what the current trend is as far as how people make things. You know, just whatever your intuition is telling you, you know, just trust it. You know, sometimes it's good to just like go with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, sometimes you get like this feeling that, oh, I should be doing this, and then you kind of get like a vision. Okay, well, I guess I gotta be doing this, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go with that thing there because after I've got an exact that, and then after doing one, it's like, okay, well, this got me to this. Okay, well, I guess my intuition was right, so maybe I should listen to it more. You know,
yeah,
kind of thing
exactly.
like that. Being aware with it, and then you're like, okay, well, now I'm here. Okay, and then for some reason it's like that iPod the podcast event that happened to me. I ran across like Andy Frisella. He's like a CEO for multiple companies, and he was just explaining his process. And along the process, kind of something just clicked in my brain. And then after that, another podcast event. I'm like, oh, like that was just the question I was asking, and the podcast was telling me the answer. I'm like, oh man, okay, well, it's so crazy how that happens. Like, somehow the universe just puts, I mean, like we were talking about it, over and over, that how the energy that you're thinking about, it's gonna give you those events over and over.
Right. Yeah, and if they're negative, you're gonna keep wondering why they're happening to you. But the reality is like you're making it happen. So I mean, you just start recognizing it, and then you change things. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy. Like I even remember a few weeks ago, because I got a new car recently, but while I was waiting on the license plates, it didn't have a front license plate. So I was like, oh, I kind of like it without having to put the front thing on there. And it was crazy. I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder what like my car would look like with this on here. And like, man, like it was crazy. Like in that same moment, like I pulled up into the left turn lane, and on the opposite side of the traffic, like someone pulled up in that turn lane, and it was same exact car as mine, same everything with the front license plate thing on it. And I was just like, that was super quick, you know, like, so, I mean, yeah, like I've done the same thing too, where I like thinking of something, listen to a podcast or even like a song pops on and like the answer like comes through because we are like kind of connected, but it comes through in all these different ways.
Yeah, and then you start reflecting on it like right now, and I'm like how does that happen? And you'll be just like, oh, it's coincidence. But you know, knowing as how much science is out there and how, you know, we're all built from this energy, then we're technically all interconnected, that, you know, even a thought and energy out there is going to attract the same energy out there. And that makes sense when you kind of sit here and think about it. But imagine, you know, if you just start explaining to someone like, I don't know, hey man, you got, you know, you kind of have what is it, Luke Skywalker had, you know, he kind of has the force. We have the force within us. But then people will go be like, dude, you're crazy, you know?
Right.
Like, they won't get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing, though. I think most people don't believe something until they see it. And we're actually moving in this direction where we can start showing people. Like things are becoming a lot more realistic, you know? So I think I actually heard someone saying in a podcast today how we're moving in the direction where like you're going to be more in like the minority group if you feel like this stuff is like a witchcraft or, you know, something evil, because people are recognizing like it's not at all, because most of us that are kind of coming in this direction, we actually want unity. We want, you know, peace. We want people to come together. So we've reflected on the idea of like, well, we're not doing this in an evil way, but there are people who have been using it in an evil way, you know? And so that's what we just have. We're like, we wouldn't be able to change, right? It's just like that culture.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the way you're gonna just perceive if, let's say, if it's fake or not, I think like now that you're becoming more aware, I think it's social media and how we all connected through this network, that you can tell, oh, well, like it happened to this person. It happened to this person. You know, if you're really logical and you can add 1, 2, and 3 together, then you're going to be like, maybe I should look into it, because there's going to be more out there than just saying, oh, you know, it's all voodoo kind of thing. And, you know,
right, yeah.
you know, kind of things like that. It's like, no, man, like there's something out there, because even like I know a lot of yogis do it. A lot of like my dad really got into yoga, like like he just practiced it over and over, but so that's how I brought into actually gone to a couple events and kind of sparked I think they call it your chakras, you know, and I remember just coming to this room. It was weird. You come in, you take off your shoes, and then you kind of look at it, and you know, some have, I think it was candles alight. This was probably when I was 2000. It was probably when I was 18, 19, 20, around there. So I'm trying to just play by memory. And then I walked in there, took out my shoes, and then I'm like, oh, look, I never done this. And literally what we did, we would just hear, we will sit right in the center of the room, and then we will hear sounds in the back. You know, and they said, all you gotta do is just do like this humming sound, and just relax, breathe in, breathe out. And my dad told me before that, he's like, if something starts to happen, you're gonna feel something in the bottom of your spine, right? At first I was like, well, if you tell me that I'm gonna feel something in my spine, I'm obviously gonna feel something in my spine. You know? Right. And then so I was like, you know, what are you trying to joke around? But then as I was sitting there and I was meditating, I totally forgot what my dad said. You know, like at all, because they were probably there for like more than an hour, just relaxing. And next thing you know, like my back starts burning, like the back, like the whole back. And they say when that happens is because you're awakening a chakra of something that wasn't there before. And, you know, and I guess is that energy release that you want out there in the world. Or, I mean, I'm really still brand new to this, but that's how I understood it, you know? Right. And that was such an experience of saying, well, okay, well, there's energy, and then afterwards you felt so well and relaxed. So I wonder what that kind of spark was in your body. You know, it was you could kind of say what I'm saying, and then those are the ones that get released by, you know, your attitude or how relaxed you are and being positive and kind of sharing with others, because you definitely feel it.
Yeah, I mean, when you start clearing, not even clearing, when you start practicing meditation and stuff, you connect to the field. You're just connecting to the field more, where you're losing sense of your body, you're losing sense of the room you're in. You're just losing the senses of all that stuff, and you're just connecting to that consciousness that, you know, it's just there. You know, it's that's the crazy part, is it really is just there and accessible for everyone at like any time. It's just a matter of like who wants to do it, you know. And you know, you sound like a crazy person when you talk about it at first, but you know, luckily we're moving on the side where we can show these things more, because it is like when you're able to step back and observe your past without the emotions to it, you where you're not judging the people that you feel like hurt you, you're not judging yourself for a poor choice or whatever, you're just observing it. Like for me, that's when I connected how all my negative thoughts were even creating my negative situations. You know, like I wasn't being stronger than my environments. So if my environment was negative, I was becoming negative, and then I was becoming even more negative because I was, you know, just like I was like annoyed the fact that I was being negative and I couldn't change anything. So when you see that from that non-judgmental, non-attached emotional feel like viewpoint, you really see like you've been predicting everything, and you're not even predicting, you've just been creating everything in your life. So when you're meditating, you're kind of allowing yourself to not create a future based on something you already know, right? Because you're clearing your head to a point where all you become is that vibration, that energy. And then if, you know, the more you practice it, the more you can start to see a vision, and the vision could be more of that positive future. And now that you've learned that you've even created all your negative experiences from your past, or your positive experience from your, you know, you just recognize that you've been creating this path the whole time. You can start to attach more to something that is not that we're like really supposed to do anything, you know, like there's this like mission we have to accomplish. But I think you just attach to your true self and what you truly want to be doing. You know, and I think a lot of times when you come at that as like a positive way, we realize we all end up wanting to do better. We want to unite. We want to help other people. Like, and that's what you kind of attach to, is because when you're not, you're not possession based. You're not like, oh, well, I want to get this house. I want to get this car. I want to get this TV. I want to get this thing. You know, you don't worry about that stuff anymore because you realize how easy it was to create all that. So you don't even really worry about it. But what's hard right now is unifying people, getting us all to this page, getting everyone wanting to think positively and not out of greed or, you know, hoarding mentalities and stuff, just letting everything be at peace. You know?
Exactly. It's like, it's exactly, you said it really well. Like when you said, not taking things personally, because that's what I do. Sometimes I just sit here and say, okay, well, what happened in my life? How it got me here? All right. So I kind of started reflecting on that. Okay. And like you said, I just look at like a movie, but it's not, I don't hold on to something. If I want to grab to something to kind of like visualize and say, oh man, like, okay, well, this was a bad experience, but I didn't it didn't hurt. It's not hurting me now, you know, but I learned this from that. And then you kind of just let it go, and you kind of scroll through, you know, and then just say, okay, well, this was good. But there's a lot of times where, like I feel maybe when I was younger, probably, I'm for sure definitely was younger than 25, is holding on to things more, and I used to waste a lot more time because I would like anything would, not anything, but I feel certain things I would grab into. like, and I took personally, if they would bother me longer, and I would feel like crap, like all day. You know, like crap as in like not good. I still was going with my day, but it was just everything that I did just felt heavy and crappy.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a weight to it. You know, it's just that
Exactly.
negativity because it's dragging you down. You know, like negative is bringing you down.
Yeah.
So no, I know that you mean. Like it was tough because like growing up, sometimes it was hard. I felt like I wasn't ever really heard by people because no one wants to hear new ideas and stuff like that. So I'm just stuck,
They'll be like,
in my
say,
own world.
you start talking about like what do you call it, energy and stuff, and you're so young, and it's like, come on, Jay, you're going crazy right now.
Yeah, like no, you just got to listen to, and it's but yeah, I think being able to be detached even from like those memories and things, it kind of helped me reattach more to, in a way, like a spiritual side. Like getting out of that headspace where I don't I don't blame any of those people. I just know like I was just in a spot. So it was hard because like that's where I would start to get in those like in that stuck. When I felt like I wasn't being heard, it was like, and I was getting angry, and then my points were coming across in a negative way when I didn't want them to, and it was just creating a lot of commotion and just chaos. So I just had to, get to a point where I eventually just kind of like stay. I didn't really share too much, with a lot of people.
Yeah, when you start saying that, like I just think about like if we felt that way, I wonder how they felt.
Yeah.
And it's like, because then like, let's say if it was really bad. I mean, I learned over time if it was really bad, and if I got mad and it would affect them, like I would just be like, you know what, like let's just put this behind us. And if it was my fault, then kind of apologize, right? But I'm sure out there, because I hear it all the time, is that like they're just holding on something that happened like 2 years ago, and they're still talking about it and wasting time, and the other person really has no idea of what's happening because they don't communicate or have that kind of say of openings like, oh, I screwed up, and I think that also is where it's like, okay, well then if let's say to recognize like how bad you feel because all that like negativity to whatever that personal thing was, if you would just shift the energy towards that and then just say like apologize kind of thing, then they would be more comfortable like to kind of continue that relationship or that friendship or whatever, instead of just being mad and hang it up for years, and never talk about it and become distant. Because I feel that that's how it happens a lot in a lot of relationship and a lot of like friendships, things like that. Is like something bad happens, and maybe something that I see is not as negative as how you would take it. But and then if I realize that, oh man, probably Jay is pissed, and say, hey man, is everything okay? Like, did I do anything? And then, oh, yeah, cool, just checking up on you, just to make sure we're okay, kind of thing. Yeah. And that builds unity. That builds unity.
No, I mean, I think that's it's important, but I had a thought, and it kind of it was there, and then it disappeared, and now I'm trying to get it back.
I know, dude.
Right. Well, no, it literally it came as you were like finishing. I haven't even had time to write it down. Yeah, but it's
no,
it was there, and then it just went back.
It's great. No, it's great though, because that's exactly why like I started writing, because because as you talk, I'm trying to pay attention, and all these things are like blah blah blah. So I'm like okay. So I wrote like pretend like beneficial. You know how benefit it is to be positive about it. And then like that, I can let you just like I let you talk.
So you can get, well, no, that brought me back to what I was gonna say. Because basically your internal energy is projected outwards. So if you're feeling negative, that's what science is kind of showing right now, is like there's a field that goes out around you, like an actual field, and if you're negative, it's just going to push that negative to other people. And I feel like I knew that, and I couldn't figure it out a lot when I was younger, or even a couple of years ago and stuff, when I was trying to discover more about things. But then it made sense, because I was like, right, because I feel internally like upset or angry or negative or whatever. So of course that makes sense why someone wouldn't want to like be around me all the time or whatever. But the more I've changed that, it's like the opposite, and like I have more welcoming conversations with people, people open up to me really quickly and stuff. So, even a room can hold energy. If you have a house where it's always yelling and chaos and anger, it like, that's why, even in these like haunting type movies, like you think like Amityville Horror, right? That was a house where there was just constant negativity. It wasn't, it may not really have been this portal to hell or whatever, but the fact that there was always violence within that house, then all this house knew was violent. So that energy was just trapped in there. So anyone was just absorbing it, and then they were feeling that way. So that's how strong emotions are and energies are. I'm sure you've probably been in a situation where you're feeling really negative while you're talking to somebody, like, you're having an okay day. This random person is talking to you and you feel really angry about it. And then you separate it, and then you separate again back into your own energy and you feel fine. That's because they were in this negative field, So, and then the same thing and the opposite. I feel like you also know what it's like to walk up to somebody who's extremely positive and you're like, I want to take some of that, like, so you actually, but that's because we feel like that's what we would want more of. So we would grab a little bit of that positivity and walk away, and then we feel better. So, that energy is real, like.
Yeah. You feed off of it. Cause I do catch like I talk to like different customers, and you can catch like that good energy, that like the levels of energy. So you have like super high, great positive energy, and then you have like, okay. And then you got zero. Holy shit, man. It's so negative, and you can feel the past every time you talk to someone, and then something hooks like between the two, depending on that energy. And you kind of either talk and even send the same kind of energy. So let's say if I have high energy and they have like okay energy, then that energy is like, okay, well, I guess my energy has to adapt to yours so I can catch up, and then maybe we can come back up,
Yeah,
like,
a lot of times that's what we want to do. We want to try to get on someone's level, but I learned like you can't, don't ever, just don't like. If
no,
because I know. Well, just like, no, but I know what you mean. Like you're just trying to, because even like what I mean too is sometimes like let's say, let's say you're in a situation where like things are going really well for you, but your coworkers, nothing's going well for them. If you try to like fit in by like, being like, well, maybe I don't have this that well this way. And because it can happen, if you're this like outcast who has everything great, but everybody's around you like doesn't want you involved with their group because it's like, oh, screw that person,
what I mean is like that okay energy is gonna bring your high energy. Like something happens where it just, those energy hook and you feel it, because we were talking about how like feeling the energy, and it tries to pull you, right? Like, kind of like negative energy attracts negative energy. And you feel it by meeting so different people. When they're already energetic, you become energetic, and when you become like an okay person, then you kind of become okay. And then like for me, when I feel kind of like, wasn't that just like happier a little bit ago, like more positively? It's like, okay, well then I bring it up, but it's those it's not telling them that they're bad either. It's just something going on there.
But that's what I mean. Like, even like, that's what I mean. Like subconsciously you're trying to be like on that level with that person. So even with what you're saying, like, whereas
like, you guys don't try to be, but it, like you said, that energy just kind of like, oh shit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because subconsciously we're trying to meet people on their level, because that's where we think, it should be all the time. If they're lower and we're higher, sometimes it's just like you're saying, like their energy is like bringing us down, because even as positive as we're trying to be, they could be, trying to counter that. And that could just defeat, and like, the more you practice it, the easier it gets to like stay away from that. But when you're first coming up, like, and imagine like you're in that situation where you're finally coming out of a negative place, but there's other people who are still in that negative place. You know, like think of that in that situation where someone's starting to become like an actor, right? And their family's like, oh, well, now you're just too big for us, right? You know, or like saying all these negative things. And that's because you have something that they didn't, and they're trying to bring you back down, because that's what negativity wants, you know, wants like people to come back down.
Defense mechanism. Yeah. Like their defense mechanism.
But for people who are just first making those steps, sometimes that can be a lot, because families can get, oh, you don't have time for your mom anymore. You know, I'm your mother. You don't have time for us. And you're like, because I'm trying to do something for myself right now, you know? And when you have that level of guilt on you, some people also will feel like, oh, I guess I got to go pay more attention to my family and do this. And the next thing you know, they're losing all their opportunities.
Have you had
that? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm in this spot right now where, like, it's not that I've forgotten my past, but like I'm so detached from a lot of it, because like I said, I viewed it all the way I needed to, and I kind of like moved along from a lot of it. So
yeah, like if how, like when you were just saying about like the what do you call it, of that energy attraction, where, like, for example, probably when I was like 19 to 21, okay, I would dedicate myself to, like, you know, my own time, and then you hear comments like, oh, like, you don't want to hang out with us anymore, or like, you know, friends is like, oh, you forgot about me, or then you hear like, you know, people say like, oh, you know, they're too good for you, and kind of that kind of type of energy. So, I mean, I definitely heard all that, and I'm pretty sure you have too, as to when you kind of trying to develop yourself, and then you hear all these negative comments. They're not technically negative, they just don't know what they're saying, but that can attract their negative forces to you. And when we don't know or differentiate that energy, and we don't know how to put a stop to it, then it can really consume you. And then if you don't, then if you disregard it, then you gotta keep doing your thing and just building yourself. And then, you know, and it sucks for that guy, you know. Like,
no, I mean, like,
I would want to help you out, like, you know, but I'm saying like it takes, like, my point is like, it takes time to think about that, like, you know, like those comments, like, and it should not be held personal. It's just things that they're gonna say because they probably feel like, oh my god, like, I miss you or something, and that's their way of saying like, oh, you don't got time for me now you're taking care of yourself. It's like, no, it's just, I got things to do too.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, people usually say things that they're just sort of like reflecting, you know, because it's like, even if there's no time, it's like, I think we're in this era too where communication is so instant. You know, there used to be a time though where, like, if you did want to get a message to somebody, it took like 3 weeks, you know, even longer.
Okay.
So I mean, we had, and we were okay with that. You know, we could be okay with that. But now it's like, oh, you don't call me every day, you don't text me 5 times a day, like, you know, and it's like, it's just too much. You know, I think we all need our time to sort of have just in quiet, or by ourselves, or doing our own thing, or working on our own stuff. Not that we have to be that way forever, but I mean, you can't constantly keep worrying about other people, you know, because eventually you realize the more you worry about yourself, the more you're okay with someone not contacting you all the time. So then you're not even trying to put any guilt trips out there. And then life is just bringing each other back together when it's ready, and no one feels any type of way because everyone is focused. It's like you're focused on yourself with the intention of being peaceful to others. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not focused on yourself to be selfish. You're focusing on yourself to actually become selfless. And I think that's can be a misconception when I think people talk about focusing on yourself. You know, you're not doing it in a negative way. You're just doing it because the better you feel, the better you create that positive energy bubble out to other people, and then they feel better. And now you can have people who want to be around you because they enjoy your presence. And then that's how, you know, you build your company, because as you're meeting people, they're leaving thinking like, man, that Angel, he's got like such a great energy about him. You know, what was his brand again? Oh yeah, Made United. All right, I'm gonna look that up, you know, because you had such that good connection, and then maybe you said something to that person that it makes them feel. It is kind of sometimes like, as I said, I'm like, it does feel like those commercials, where someone holds the door for somebody and then somebody does something else nice, like it does. It kind of really is like that.
I mean, it's reality. Yeah, it's what has to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like when you're just doing it to do it without really any expectation, if you help somebody out with the expectation of them helping you back out, like that's when it causes the con. But if you just do it, then you don't even need to worry about that person being the one to help you back out. At some point of life, you're going to be helped out. It doesn't have to come from that physical individual, because life has another way of helping you out, So, I mean, it's just being okay with how things go, and just not judging the situation so hard, and not putting blame on the other people, because you really don't know what's going on in other people's minds, like you just don't. So, I mean, the more you focus on yours, you understand that, and then you let people have their space. And even if they come at you in a negative way, you don't have to absorb it, because now you're like, you know what, that's that person's energy. It's not whatever they're trying to project onto me, like that's not who I am. So I'm confident in that.
So exactly what you said is like, if you work on yourself, it's not personal. I think it's really selfless. Because if you put it in the aspect of like, if I focus on myself, I'm going to become the best person that I can be, the best. I'm saying the best, not the perfect person that I can be, because you can never be perfect.
Right. Yeah.
And if you become the best at whatever you do, then you're going to have much more influence on others, and others will probably want to imitate what you did, because obviously with that, it comes with all this energy. And if you keep, let's say, for example, like my vision for this brand is to, all right, well, make it big. But let's say, for example, if there's a charity I want to give to, like right now,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, like, I mean, I like giving, I like helping out, but what I would really want is to really help them out, not with like $5, like really help them out. Like, what does that charity need? And if I work on myself, that's going to be possible, instead of focusing on one thing that, oh, like this person didn't buy this from me, man, how mad I am from them. And then that holds you back from focusing on yourself in order for you later on to give. Yeah. That's just an example.
No, I mean,
right?
And I think, and I mean, if you're in the mindset where you would want to find out what they actually need rather than just give them $5, you may give them the $5, but you also might look for the person to talk to actually find out, like you may give the donation still, but now you're also asking, oh, well, who's the organizer?
Right.
Who's the person that runs this charity? I'd really like to get in contact. Oh, that's their phone number. Okay, great. So, I mean, just by you knowing that that's what you want to do, naturally, your instinct is going to say, hey, get this person's information, contact this person, figure out what they need, but then, I think some people too are, just, they just write the donation, they do that because that's all they think, so it's just whatever you want to do, the way is provided, it's just trusting that it's the right, because I mean, if you want to help out a charity, I don't think you're going to run into necessarily this organizer that's like, what do you mean? What do we need? We just need your money, and then if they say we just need your money, then you might not want to continue helping. But
right,
they're like, oh, well, this is what our goals are. This is what this money is going to be. Then you can say, hey, actually, I know somebody that has this, and I know a way to get that and stuff. And then, that's how you're able to help. And then they know your brand, and now they're telling people about your brand. That's how companies grow. So, I mean, I think like when you decide like, okay, I want to help this organization out, as opposed to just throw cash at it, you can actually end up opening up a bigger world to like unify people.
Yeah, like exactly. Like, well, more. It's more into like how you were saying about like the personal. Like if you work on yourself, your personal thing, and not really think of, oh, why didn't this person didn't purchase my art, and then kind of stick with it and kind of like and have that anger, or and then you just kind of keep working, You just keep working. You ignore that and you keep going. But my point was is that if you're focusing on yourself, you're gonna be able to release more energy into what you do. Obviously, it's gonna be the best as you can. And then even those people that were saying that, oh, like, you don't want to hang out with us anymore, or you don't want to do this, it's like, then they will understand of like, look, I want to build a better version of myself. And if maybe by seeing that, they'll do the same, and then they'll start asking questions and stay more open, then that can be like a lot more unifying than just, cutting off the conversation and say, oh, like, like, oh, it's like all you do is like shirts, and then they get pissed, and then you get pissed, and then that kind of breaks off that relationship. It's like, well,
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's like, might as well just let it be. Keep going with, keep going with the flow of your energy. Just keep going with it, because if you put a pause to it, it does stop, and then you waste so much time just thinking about those thoughts over and over. So by working on yourself, we'll be able to create those thoughts of let's move forward.
Yeah, and I don't really get to when like someone says like, oh, I'm working on myself, and people automatically assume like, oh, do you think you're better than us? And it's like, how is that even like? I can't, because it's like, well, how would that make me better than you? Like, if I don't feel good inside and I decide to feel better about that, that has nothing to do with you, like, at all. You know what I mean? Like, but people don't. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why people like to bring people back down. It's like, it's weird.
Like I said, it could be like a defense mechanism that they wish they would have done it. Because I catch myself sometimes when I'm really uncomfortable, I just start saying like the random things, like start pointing out details that shouldn't be pointed at. That's a defense mechanism. I'm like, that doesn't matter. Why am I thinking this? Is because it's uncomfortable. But once you start, like, and I notice, like, once I start having conversation in that uncomfortable environment, then that goes away. It's like, okay. Then, like, it says, like, why is that? It's because it's the defense mechanism that you build over time that says, oh, like, you're no good. And then, and every time you have to defend yourself.
No, yeah, and I think like even at my job, I've had that realization, because it's like, if I perceived the workload as like so much and it's so overwhelming, so now I'm like, oh, I hate this job. I do this and that, and I'm like talking that way to my other coworkers and stuff. Then like I'm creating this like weird environment. Whereas like now, like I'm recognizing like, well, it's always the same stuff every day. So, I mean, that's not going to change, but I can change how I'm reacting to this stuff. So now it's more about like joking around or having fun. And like, even like the other day, it was like interesting. So we have to sometimes pull like orders people do online, and we try to do it, throughout the day or whatever. But this one day, it was me and someone else, and it was just going to be us two for a while. And we were like, I think she said like, oh, we're going to get all the orders done before the store opens, so we don't have to worry about them, and then we don't have to stay long or whatever. And I was like, cool, that sounds great. And it was a normal amount of orders that would on a normal day take us a lot longer than it took us. But I think it was like, she said that, and in my mind, I think I thought like, hey, you know what? Like, we could do that, like we can get that done. And like literally like stuff that normally would have taken us this whole like 4 or 5 hour shift, we did in like 2 hours. And we were just like, all right, so that was the thing, like, and we got like everything done the right way, like everything ready to go and like boxed up or packaged, and it was like, for me, it was just as like, I just observed, like, if you just decide you want to do something and then attack it in a positive way, it really can get done,
Did you guys communicate that before, like getting those things done, or you just had a feeling that I need to communicate with them to get this done? Or
well, no, it was just kind of like her and I, like, she was the one that pointed out, like, because it was going to be the two of us even when the store opened for a while, like if we didn't get everything done, that meant we were going to have to maybe stay a little bit longer to try to like finish. Not that we don't have to, but we knew they
Right.
would have asked us to stay longer.
Right.
But so she put out there like, all right, so let's get this done then before we open. And then I was like, and then it was, because then I think an old mindset could be like, oh, we're not going to get this done, like, or whatever. But instead, like,
Right.
just even myself, I was like, I'm just going to go with that. Like, I'm not going to try to counter it. I'm not even going to try to agree with it. I'm just going to go with it. And so I didn't pay attention to how much had to get done. I just focused on it being done.
Mm.
And then as opposed to focusing, like I said, on how many things needed to get done, it was just done. And I was like, that was super easy. Like,
Yeah, because
but
it seems like when you start thinking of all the things that got to be done, they're never done.
right. Yeah. Because that's all you're constantly thinking about is
Right.
like the one next thing. But yeah, then once you change the mindset of, okay, it's just all going to be done by this time, it can all just be done. But you have to stay in that mindset. Like you can't fall back into thinking of the tasks. You have to fall back, or you can't fall back into that. You just have to stay in the idea of it being done by like 3 o'clock or something.
Yeah, like flowing, being like aware of, okay, this is gonna be done, and let's just get it done till it's done. So you kind of prepare yourself in a way that to forget everything else, and it just keeps going, And then sometimes, obviously, it takes practice because I remember, let's say in the beginning of when I started working, with my company I am now, I would think, oh my God, we have to do all this like throughout. Like, what am I like? Okay, so it became longer and it felt like heavier and it was just like a workload, Instead of saying, oh, like, well, let's just go on with the day and then let's just knock out all the things that we have to do. So changing that mindset and doing it over and over, because it probably took, like 4 or 6 months to say, oh, okay, well, let's just get it done. Instead of just sitting there thinking about, but you kind of have to reprogram yourself to be able to like realize that. Because sometimes even when you start working, like, and you give yourself that mindset in the beginning of the day, it just lasts to the middle of the day. And you're like, oh man, I still have all these things to do. So you kind of, so now you have to reset yourself again and then go with it again. So I think like after practicing over and over, it just becomes smoother.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, I think anyone that's doing like a business or something or whatever, like you should always be willing to change constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing should really be the same. But I think even the workload aspect, it is like if you feel like it's a lot, as opposed to dwelling on how much it is or whatever, just go through it with the intention of looking for the ways to make it easier. Like if you're going into a job and you're just looking at their giant to-do list and you're like, none of this makes sense. Go through it, because the person who owns that company isn't necessarily going to want you to come to them being like, none of this makes sense. They're going to want you to come to them with this thing of like, hey, so I've been doing this, stuff now. But I see that if you were to have us do this as opposed to do that, we'd be able to increase over here. And then you're not even going to them with this sucks. You're going to them with, hey, these are solutions. So if you're someone who wants to like move up in a company like that, like, it is like you have to get out of that. And trust me, I've been there where you're looking at like, I don't want to do, why do I got to do this whole checklist? I'm not going to be able to get this whole checklist done before, in an hour or whatever. And then I'm just thinking of it in the negative way and even thinking like, we don't need to do any of that. But no one's going to listen to me if I'm not even doing it,
Right.
So if you do it their way and, don't feel so negative about it, it won't be such a bother to you, number one. So it's less stress on your end. And then number two, like you come to that realization of like, hey, we could do these things better. Let me approach the boss and say, this is my suggestions, not my complaints. These are just my suggestions as far as how things can be done a little bit better or faster or more efficiently, But again, don't go to people with like I've been there, and I'm just from experience is like, don't go to people in that like, this is stupid mindset. It doesn't work. I've tried it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like, and then once you kind of go with like their system, it seems like you can like adapt your kind of style to it. So you kind of see like, oh, like this, if I do it this way, like the way he taught me, but he, like I was taught, then I can just do it this way and still get the same result. Within like short period of time, creating more profit, or even just getting it nicer than it was before, and that's kind of a buildup. And I feel, I think, in a way, that if you do work with like a good, let's say company or people, or you work with friends or anything. I just heard this yesterday while I was like designing with Gary. It's like, it's okay to tell me your ideas, because let's say if I was an owner, right?
Mm.
I was an employee, and I was telling me as an owner, because I agree on it. Because it's saying like, I want to hear your ideas, even if I don't agree with them. Like, it can be the stupidest idea ever, but at least I heard you out, and if we decide to go with it, good. If not, good. And that kind of seems to open more of the like opportunities to have in a company, because first of all, the employee or employer or friends or friendship, if they feel comfortable enough, say, look, I have this idea, what do you think? And let's say whoever you tell it to, it's open to it, then I think kind of ideas just kind of start adding up within each other, and kind of brainstorm more, communicate ideas back and forward, and then slowly grow it overall. So I think even like by saying, hey, like, I have this idea, even if you think it might not work for me, but let's say if it works for you, whatever I have to say.
Yeah. And I think even too, you could hear probably, like, let's say someone's pitching you an idea, your brain may just trigger it could be a whole different idea than what they're even pitching you. But just because you're taking this time to hear them out, it allowed whatever needed to happen to spark the right idea. So that's why, like, no conversation should be, a bad one, because you never know what it can spark, what idea can come from it. So yeah, I mean, like, and to create that environment as like the owner of come to me with anything is also really important, because now you won't have people worrying or dwelling or thinking that you're super unapproachable, like anyone can come to you with anything. And I think that's a better kind of boss to be, because you're not making your employees feel like they're just there to do what you tell them, and you don't care about how their life goes, like, and that's the environment that I think is fading. And I think that's why stuff like this is super important. I think there are people out there that have jobs that are literally teaching companies how to use meditation, how to use mindfulness, how to treat their employees better, how to treat the environment better, how to make it better, a product that's better for people. So I mean, the culture is happening, that shift is happening, and I think it can happen faster if more people start to talk about this in a way that's real, and I think when that happens, it's like someone said it in a podcast I was listening to today, to where it's like, it'd be great to get into that future where the people living in that future don't even know what it feels like to have like separation and diversity and problems. Like, just like envision that future, because that's the one you can get into. If like, there's a lot of people, think the whole world's gonna be taken over by robots, and it's like, all right, well, if that's the world you think about, that's the one you're gonna fall into.
So, I think that's gonna happen. Like,
no, I mean, like, it seems that way, but it's
it does.
It's just,
I agree on what you're saying, because there's so much going on quickly too.
Yeah, but no, I think like your belief system is important. Like, I think we feel like we're in these apocalyptic times all the time, because the religious texts talk about apocalypse times. Like, you get George.
Are coming true.
Yeah, like the book, like Animal Farm, I think it is. Where it's like depicting how we are now, and it's like, but it's because we believed that being the truth. Like, if you choose to believe that's the way it's going to get, then that's the way it's going to get. So start thinking the opposite of that. Start thinking about the peaceful end, because if you don't, you just end up going down that cycle, where everything becomes negative. Everyone's after you. Everyone's trying to cluster everybody together and hoard us in and conspiracy theory and this and that, like it gets to be way too much,
Yeah, and at the end, I feels like that we kind of like we will be showing the benefits of those ideas that okay, well, I'm gonna be comfortable enough to just talk about it, than not have anything at all. So I think it's benefits. Like let's say, if don't you think if I do well, like the people around me are not gonna do well? It's just common sense, right? But let's say if I'm the type of guy that says, hey man, like I don't want to know none of your ideas, but those ideas I kind of reject, like can help, then if I'm gonna be benefit, don't you think they're gonna be benefit from it too as well? Yeah. So that's like a lot. Like by showing those benefits, obviously those ideas gonna keep to flow. Like keep things going, keep in motion, and not stopping, and just keep going forward. You know, with
no, and I think it's important. Like if you're someone maybe like you're young, you just get into a new company and you really like it and you have these ideas, you feel like you can make a change, and maybe you go to the one person who's higher up than you and you tell them your idea and they're like, oh, whatever, and blah blah blah. Like it can be defeating when that person isn't like encouraging your idea because they're in a position where like they don't see themselves going any higher, they don't have any ideas, so like why is this person who's below me, their idea is meaningless. Like I've been in situations where I've given ideas, been shrugged off about them, and then see them happen. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, that was my idea. But it's important
I want credit.
like, so if you're that person that has these ideas and you feel like you're hitting these roadblocks, don't be afraid to just go around it, because that person's stuck. You're not stuck. So don't let them being stuck bring you down. Go like do it. You can do it politely, like, well, excuse me, I'm just going to go over here. Because like you can't let them dictate how far you can go. So, I mean, just politely do it, do it in a nice way. If they feel offended or this and that, that's on them. You can't let that emotion attach to yours. You have to keep telling yourself, well, I do have these good ideas. I do believe in these ideas. I trust that I can find someone who also believes in these ideas that I have, because I want to be higher up in this company or whatever you're doing, so encourage yourself too. And just remember that some people who don't understand where you're coming from or don't care to push your idea along, it's just because of where they're at. So just keep going, trust yourself, trust your intuition,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really what you got. You shouldn't, like we were just talking about, like even take it personally, even if the boss an asshole. Just saying, well, maybe something's going on in their life, and then just say, okay, well, let's not get down. I'm just gonna keep doing my work, and then, who knows what's gonna turn up next. So
and there's some people who are okay. They get to a position they want to be in. They make a good amount of money. They're able to manage the family life and this and that, and they're okay, and that's fine. Right. So again, they're the person that if they're and they may not necessarily be stuck. They're just where they want to be. But if it's not where you want to be, don't be afraid again to go around them if they're not helping you. Because if you want more, you're allowed to get more as well. So I mean, what makes one person happy may not make another person happy. That's how everything works, right? Like some people just want to do one specific thing and just do that. Some people want to create everything in the world, and just help change, the environment for the better and do good things. And it's, again, like just do that, because
it feels like everyone's riding their own wave, like their own energy wave. Like, I think it's like in different waves. And sometimes when you're like, going by them, then they might even attach to like, oh damn, you woke me up, or like,
exactly.
They'll become attached to you too. But sometimes, like you said, sometimes you're gonna pass right by them and they're gonna be there, which is okay. It's just their level of energy of what they want, and that's okay.
Right.
And then, but like, if you want to get around it, like you said, just say, excuse me, I gotta get over there and I gotta do my thing. And it should be okay both ways, like, and not in that person say, excuse me, to take it negatively, and then us like when we are giving good ideas, not really, saying, oh, like just because you didn't do it, we're better than you. Like, no, that's dumb, because then you're holding on to something that can hold you back from something great by focusing in that way. So So it all depends on, what do you want and what energy you want to, where you want to take your energy with. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like how you perceive a situation, I mean, if you like, I kind of had this visual for something I maybe want to like film, of just kind of showing like this, the same scenario play out, but from three different perspectives, and just seeing how a negative response, creates a more negative environment, and like a positive or a neutral response just creates more of the same environment, and then, maybe like the positive response creates an uplift in environment, but how individual people will handle situations differently, because like, I feel like you can, let's say in like you get one customer, that's like, this is like let's say most of the people find them to be a pain and don't want to deal with them. And then there's some people that just get stuck dealing with them. So it's like a whatever situation. But then there's like the few people that can control the situation and be like, well, I understand this person is probably a certain way because they're going through a certain thing. So I'm not in their position. I'm in in a better spirit. I'm in a better mindset. So I'm going to go at it with like a positive vibe and energy. And then who knows, if that person's positivity bounces onto that person, then that's how that person starts to change. But the thing is, that customer is going to be the same person to all three of those people. But it's just going to be how each one responds differently, creates a different environment, like, and I think, because I think that's really how it seems to be, like, from my perception of things a lot more lately. I feel like I can see it from when someone's really hating on something or really feeling a certain way, and that's all they talk about, how they feel about. It's like I can see how that becomes their world. It's not what I perceive it, so I can't necessarily feel it or something, but I can definitely see how they're creating this environment based off how they talk. And it's very interesting because it is like you create your own environment. Like if you live in a let's say like a house where there is constant conflict, you can still choose to be the happier one. They might hate you for it. They might be annoyed at you for it. You may deal with a lot for it, but you can still say, I'd rather deal with it than not feel happy, and that's how you push the boundaries. That's how you push it. And that's how you get to the other side, because who cares? Like, it feels so much better to just enjoy yourself, and to have a positive attitude towards others, and two, like, this doesn't always mean like you have to be that cheerleader, you don't always have to be that person who's like running and doing the most, because sometimes those people who are always doing those things and just looking positive are still dealing with stuff too. It just means like you can still be a little bit more neutral. You don't have to always be the most talkative one or the loudest one. It just means that you have a positive outlook to all the situations. You can you're not afraid to have a conversation with somebody, but you're also okay, like someone like me, I'm also okay to sitting by myself for a day. Like I don't need any interaction at all for some time. And I like that,
And because you learn, like, you learn, like, just going day by day is like, okay, well, I'm here by myself. All the thoughts are coming to me. What can I do? Like, am I really bothered by anything? You kind of learn. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm comfortable being alone, like, just being with my own thoughts. It's like, oh, like, why am I thinking this? Oh, it's kind of funny. Oh, no, it's just kind of like sad. Oh, you know what? Like, you kind of have like a reflection when you're alone, and you try to say, okay, well, why is my mind thinking this? Instead of, I know a lot of people that can't be by themselves because they start to think and start to believe everything their thoughts telling them.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's like, it's okay to think those things that you're thinking. All you gotta do is like, is this really me? Because sometimes people believe it's like, oh my God, I'm having the thoughts. I must be the worst person ever. But if you reflect it, it's like, oh no, it's just that's a funny thought.
Yeah, I mean, like, something that I even did really randomly, it's like a week ago maybe. I was meditating, and I could feel like I had a lot of chatter going on in my head. And what I decided to do was, with my eyes closed and everything too, was I projected the chatter to like where the sound for my TV would be coming out. Oh, nice. So I kind of started pretending just like it was more so like the TV was on. And I don't know why that helped me detach from those thoughts. They didn't feel like my thoughts anymore. They felt like something I was watching. You know, when you're watching a TV show,
Yeah.
you're kind of looking at everyone's role, and you have your opinion about everyone else's role, but you're not, you're not those characters. Even if you feel attached to a character, you're not. So I felt like I was able to detach from those thoughts and then just see them, as opposed to feeling them. I could just see them. But it takes a while to get there, because sometimes, in the past when I've tried meditating, it's just like, so you're just so antsy, you're like, I can't sit here. It's an amazing thing to realize. It's super, as much as people say they want to relax, it's like so hard to get someone to really relax. You can take a nap, you can fall asleep. That's different. Being like in a meditative, actually relaxed state is a lot harder, because you're just trying to like sit and like let the thoughts not necessarily like go away, but you're just trying to learn how to not stay attached to those thoughts, because
stay calm within the storm of your thoughts. I feel
right.
like it's like that. Sometimes you have like clarity on what we're actually doing. So it's like, okay, well, I have those thoughts, and sometimes you can get rid of them. Some of them are different, but that's so interesting. Like putting your thoughts to like the sound of the TV and just running that throughout, and then based on that, you can just kind of perceive what's going on. And did you find that kind of useful to like to calm you down, right?
Yeah, a little bit, because then I also started to have more like a visual too around the thoughts, because I was able to kind of like, like it felt like the TV was on, but even though my eyes were closed, I could create little visuals about the thoughts too. But I just felt detached from them. Like I just felt like it was just things going in and out, but, and it just helped not feel stressed out about the fact that there were noise. Because, I don't know, it could just been my day. It could just been a lot going on, But if I sit there and I'm like, man, I just can't silence my mind, or I can't, then I'm creating the stress. But just allowing it to happen and just not being angry about however this meditation session goes, that's really the whole point of it. There is no like end goal to meditation where you don't have a single thought in your head and you're just the silent mind. That's not necessarily the goal. It's to always be at peace. If you can be at peace with your meditation session when it's negative, then that's the goal, because then you're learning that like when you have a negative situation in life, treat it peacefully, treat it with positivity, because when you reflect on yourself, you have to see the bad too. You're going to see the negative things, the stuff that has to change or develop, and it's not easy, like it's like telling yourself to get out of bed and go to a job you don't want to necessarily do for a while, like, because it's not fun, it's like, all right, so I got to be mindful of this today. And then you see yourself do it, and you're like, I'm going to change it. But then eventually, it's for the better. I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining about it, but it's just like when you go to the gym, if you want to have a healthier body and a nice, whatever, you're going to have to force yourself to go. You're going to get done work and be like, I know you're always at the gym or doing workouts. So
the reason is like, it's like, how like people do yoga to calm their thoughts? I work out to calm my thoughts.
Yeah.
Because there's times that when I get home from a long day, I still have so much energy, like good energy, right? But I gotta let it out somehow. If not, you kind of start thinking their thoughts and sit down, and then in order to control those thoughts, sometimes you catch yourself on your phone for a long time. So I would rather just like, what I'll do is, like I'm working out right now for my garage because the gyms are closed.
Right.
So I'll like work out, for an hour, and then next thing you know, it's like while like so the text that I sent you yesterday for our podcast, right? I actually wrote that while I was working out because I was able to clear my mind, and all this thoughts just came out.
Right.
Same thing with my previous post on my personal page. I wrote that caption. I ran from my house about like 5 miles to the beach, and then when I got there, I just sit down, like close my eyes, listen to the waves, and then like the thoughts that I wanted to be thinking came, and I was able to kind of write all that out. So by doing those kind of like exercises, it kind of gives me to a meditation state, which, you know, what they say they do, like, you know, so I kind of benefit from like mentally, like health wise, and, you know, at the end, I get a good physique. Why not, you know?
Right, exactly, you know.
But it is mostly for like the mental state, because
Yeah.
me growing up, like I remember probably being probably 6, 7, 8, so much energy from
Hmm.
like the morning to night. Like my mom will catch me like on the top of the rooftop of the neighbor's house throwing rocks at a freaking chimney. Like no joke, like so much energy like that. And I would just be out all the time, and like, you know, going to a friend's house, just going running, and there's just so much energy I had. So growing up, I kind of learned, like, you know, by learning and hearing people that worked out and how they help them kind of like bring your thoughts together instead of, you know, just thinking and not doing. It's like, okay, well, by working out, you kind of get that piece of the piece, and then you'll be able to put more action behind it. And then even applying those actions from learning from working out, I can apply it to, let's say, if I want to design, you know, like I get kind of like the same exercises of like, okay, well, I want to get this picture a certain way. So, and then by putting what I learned from like working out, as far as like how to calm my mind a little bit, but
Mm.
obviously the calming down is from the physical, but I can at least bring that energy that I learned, like the calming energy. So when I repeat so many things like through photos, I kind of stay calm.
Well, yeah, and I think like too, like when you're done like a big workout, you know, what's the thing you're feeling like, you know, you always feel like the blood pulsing and stuff, and you feel all that moving through your body. I mean, that's the energy moving through you. You know, that's that
Right.
energy that's vibing, and so when you do come right from a heavy workout like that into then this like kind of peacefulness and kind of zen out, like you like that's what like some of the breathing techniques I was learning kind of do. It like it's like contracting the muscles in like your abdomen and your chest and stuff, and you're, you know, you're contracting muscles and stuff almost until you create this like vibrational frequency where your mind kind of does in a way sort of naturally sort of, I wouldn't say it like clears out, but it doesn't there's nothing like stressful. It's just like you just feel very at ease with it, you know, with whatever's going on it in your mind at that time. And that's when eventually, you know, you those good ideas come. I mean, honestly, that's the thing. Like if you read about like Steve Jobs and stuff, like he he went out and traveled and did a lot of like spiritual things. And what's weird is not weird, it's cool that he kind of was able to do this thing where you bend reality, and that's how he was able to get all of his ideas out the way he did, because he kind of made them happen faster by I because I haven't gone that route yet, you know, I'm not that far. I don't know
Mhm.
how he was able to necessarily do it, but it's possible where you're basically seeing these so big and abstract ideas, but he saw it. And I think because now I know he has some negatives on how he treated employees and things like that,
Mhm.
but I think overall the vision he saw was getting these iPhones into hands of everyone. And regardless of if it's the iPhone or not, I think there's so much, even the competition that it kind of generated to force all these
Mhm.
other cell phone companies, like places that are considered maybe third world kind of places, have access to these phones now. So, I mean, we're able to see things that are going on in very real time. And like, I think especially this year, it's constant like, you know, and it's sad that we have to be saying help this place, help
Right.
this group, help this stuff. I mean, even the unfortunate stuff that happened in Lebanon, right? Like
Oh yeah.
the big
Yeah.
explosion. So it's like, but we're becoming so compassionate though to the fact that it's like, well, we can't really go be there,
Mhm.
right? Especially because travel bans and things. It's not even like, I think, you know, it's going to be tough now because there's not going to be the same amount of volunteers that can maybe just go. So people are still very compassionate towards that, you know. And I mean, I think even
So
as it,
so so what
yeah,
you wanted to learn is what Steve how did Steve get his energy all coped up within himself to kind of create that, right?
Yeah, like to be able to maybe see that as the goal for what he wanted to do, was able for the ideas to happen that much quicker. I don't really know for sure, but it's
Right.
like, it's becoming more apparent though that these things are real, that they're not just like science fiction. The people that are creating these things and running like these really big organizations and stuff, that's what they're doing. They're going on meditation retreats, spiritual retreats. They're doing ayahuasca ceremonies. I hear a lot about that happening and stuff. So there's just this thing where people are just wanting to open their mind even more, and it goes beyond the idea of just wanting to set up a business where you sell a product, you source out all the work, and then you just sit at home and you collect all the money from it, and then you don't do anything. I think people are kind of moving beyond that. Even the people that are that were rich, they're starting to realize they need to be fulfilled more, and so they're gaining more compassion, because I think even as, like, let's say, one family member works super hard, they become the first wealthy person, then those kids benefit, maybe they make a little bit more money, and then the next generation benefits. The less people are kind of having to do, that's when they get into that level of like, well, what else is there? Well, we did all of it, right? We did the business, we have the money, I don't have to do anything, but what else could I do? And that's what I think is opening up the door to people seeing like they have to be, more compassionate, which in turn, like, let's say you're a generation where you have a family business, you can be that one that looks at what the business is doing and then realize you have to make all these drastic changes to meet with current, trends, or a better way to do something to help the environment. So, I mean, it's an important thing. And I feel as though we are moving into that culture, especially in business, where if you're going to be a really successful CEO or whatever, you have to be compassionate towards not just your employees, but your customers and the people that, support your brand.
It does feel like, like people have to be more understanding, more understanding of people, what they want to do, and then obviously like learning those techniques of how to apply them. Because obviously, like you were just mentioning, Steve Jobs, like he, went traveling all over and he learned so many things which he could apply to his own technology, all his ideas that came out. And I think by learning and reaching out and being understanding of like not everyone, but a lot of places where you go, I think the more ideas are going to flow, because obviously, we are humans, like individual humans with so many ideas, but you can only come across them when, you kind of go and, go somewhere away from where you're at now, because obviously even where you're here now, you're just going to have the ideas where you're at. But if you want to get out of, like they say, call it out of the box, you actually have to go out somewhere to kind of get ideas from other people that might have, again, better ideas that can be applied to even daily life. And I feel like once people go out there and get ideas and kind of develop this way of teaching those ideas or how to create those ideas, then I guess you can, I'm guessing that Steve Jobs was able to realize, oh, like I learned so much and it was eye-opening that I can apply it to my own product. And that's how, everyone was able to enjoy what he created.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I always felt that about when, like, I realized like the iPhones were coming up and everything. And it was like, we're like more important than the technology end. It was like, we were on this verge of like I was saying earlier, even in this is like the instant communication. Like we really can talk and help out and see, like, in real time, like everything that's happening, and it's like, I think because there was that desire for that kind of unity, I think that's why even he was able to like get these iPhones created so quickly before he passed away, because he knew the importance of it, knew it was possible, and knew it was going to happen, basically. And he just intuition just took over, and he just did everything he was told basically from the gut to do. And I think all of that just bent because like, without that type of person to have that insight, I mean, think about it, that's one person in the entire world that literally changed the way we communicate with each other. And that, like, that's just one, like, of course there's all the other people that do things, obviously
Right.
there's Bill Gates and, lack of names, but obviously Wi-Fi and all the internet access is a big thing too. But just the ease of use, how easy it is to use iPhones, and the fact that like everyone has them now. It's like, I think his visualization was bringing people together, in that unified way. And it's an important, yeah, it really has. I mean, and that's what's crazy about it. Like I said, it's just instant. Everything is so fast, but I think that's why I think it was a very rocky start. I think we're like starting to get to the balance of the internet now. You know what I mean? Like, it was a crazy mess of everything, and I think we're finally starting to like balance out the actual use of it now. So that's important.
Yeah, that's definitely his benefits and his, everything. Because I mean, you used to, like, if you want to know something back then, it's encyclopedia, and then then you have like a, or even ask a professor, even if they knew it, if they even read. I mean, from what we can get right now, like instant, it's amazing. So that's why we can learn so much. And I think it just benefits us how we communicate. We're right now, you're sitting at your house, I'm sitting in my house, having a conversation. Like, this is awesome.
I know. Yeah.
It's like, it's like, and then like that, we're literally just talking, bouncing off ideas or experiences or things that when others can hear about and kind of learn, say, oh, like, whatever Jay said in doing this sparked this idea to me. Maybe I should try this. And then who knows, that he builds whoever hears that part kind of builds up on something. And I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to, is communicating between one another, trying to understand, say, okay, well, Jay, what do you want to do today? What do you want to do with your life? Maybe there's something that I know that can benefit both of us, and then that's how that community builds. And then other people see that as like, it's working for them. Like, I want it to work for me too. So then they kind of repeat that, repeat it, and whatever they learn, they add on it, and it just keeps building, which is so great of the level of communication. And then obviously having the social network negative effect, that people become so hooked that they forget how to have a conversation. So I think the more often people like us have these, then the more people are like, oh, this is what it is to have a real conversation. This is how, like, we can even argue over Skype and still understand each other with instead of like 3 words and don't even talk about it.
Right.
But that's exactly why we need to talk about it, of why we experience the things we do, talk about the things we do, so like that if other people around us or the community that we get involved with, then it expands more in a positive way. And that's ultimately why, I think we can talk this like long period of time, because we're full of great ideas, and
Right.
like things that benefit you. Like, I start to think like, oh, like, if I apply this onto it, like in my own way, does it work? And and then it's like, okay, well, it's beneficial. And even just talking, having a regular conversation with somebody else, it just adds so much to someone else, just to get to express yourself. And at the end, you get that positive, and tomorrow, you're gonna wake up like, oh, hell yeah, we had a badass podcast last night, and let's get on with our day, And
Right.
and people are gonna see that. People are gonna get inspired, say, hey, like I don't need to be that guy, but I want to like, I need like that attitude, and it just makes the community better, I feel.
Yeah, no, that's really the goal, is just unifying people in that positive way. Because once they start doing that, then everyone can be comfortable in their own role too. I think like a lot of times you feel like, oh, my role isn't as cool as someone else's role, or my skills aren't as cool. But it's like, just do what you're good at. That's it. Because then everyone will start realizing that they also don't have to do everything themselves. So when they realize they don't have to do everything themselves, they reach out, they have other people help and stuff. So I mean, it is. It's just learning how to hone in on what your natural abilities are, and find your confidence, your happiness, your, reason to want to get up and do a bunch of stuff, like it can be a struggle sometimes, like sometimes you don't even know why you're getting out of bed. So you got to start finding that purpose of getting out of bed and what you're going to do. Like it can be exciting when you really fall into that unknown, when you really give in to just like letting the day take you, it can be a really fun time. So
yeah, I can do that. That's true. It just depends on whatever you feed your mind is what it's going to come out to.
yeah. Ultimately, yeah, projecting you. So I mean, like, yeah, you're gonna just don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it anymore. Don't be afraid of your ideas, your beliefs. I mean, like, people don't really know what's what. Anyone that tells you you're wrong doesn't have a clue because they don't know either. Like,
exactly. No one knows.
Yeah,
no one knows
exactly.
As long as you feel comfortable enough to just keep going forward and nothing should hold you back from what you want to do, as long as like you don't hurt no one, you don't kill no one, and you're good with your community, just keep doing it. No one's gonna hold you back. Like, and I don't.
And I was just thinking too, like if you do start practicing meditation and you get to the point where you're starting to try to visualize that future and stuff, visualize the future where you already have all the wealth you need to provide for it. Because I think a lot of times when you're manifesting, I think the old way of manifesting is, okay, well, I want this big house and I want this car and this and that. So making sure that when you're projecting that future, you're already on the understanding of you have the wealth for those things, but they're not like your desires. You know what I mean? Like you want to find that peace of mind where you have the wealth to live comfortably, do your thing, but you're also helping other people, because that's how the wealth cycles around. Because, if you have all these, if you have like the billionaires and they want to, not help anybody else out, well, then that's just going to create more poverty, which is eventually going to lead to, just all their businesses falling out. But the more they, help uplift people and give, everyone that positive life, the life they want to be living, then it's, it won't be seen as greed. It just is seen as everyone doesn't even think about any money. Money just does things. It doesn't really control how you get to live. It just does things. But it is a hard concept to understand. But when you start to just be okay with the fact that it's there and that you too could become a billionaire, but you could be a better one, if you disagree with how someone handles their money, don't be afraid to get to their level and just handle it better. I don't think we need to eat the rich. I think we need to become richer. Like there's no point of destroying someone else's wealth, because that's just going to create more destruction in your own life. So just tell yourself, like, I want to find a way to be a millionaire so I can do it differently. Because if you're just complaining about the people who are millionaires, you're not going to get to the chance to even change it. So, I mean, you can't just be mad at the people that are wealthy because they followed a system that works for everybody. You just have to be willing to tap into that system. And if you, like I said, if you disagree with how they handle their money when they get to that level, just be different. Like, you don't have to worry about preventing it. You can't prevent people from becoming billionaires. Like, you can't. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Stop it, guys.
They're just not going to happen. So the only thing really you could do is manifest out there that that's what you want to become, but you want to do it through a company that provides real change, real support and unity for other people, because those companies exist too. So
you have to have something to, I mean, because that's where you live with your community, the people around you. If the people around you like are great, they're happy, you're going to be happy and great,
right.
It just attracts the energy, and whatever you put out there, you're going to get back, and it just kind of keeps things flowing. Like, obviously, if people have money to help out others and they want to help out, great. If others don't want to help us, like, okay, well, then that's on you. So whatever, like, it doesn't, just because someone has money doesn't mean that they have to help, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that, like, when you help, it helps your community. If you help your community, like you just said it If you don't want to help a if the multi-million company doesn't want to help you, they're gonna lose their employees. And then they're gonna crash. And then what? No, it's like, no. If everyone's well, everybody else is gonna be well as well. And if I can help to make that well, why not? Because it's gonna be at the end, it's gonna make me better. Let's say.
Right.
So, but that's exactly what it is. And like you said, if you want to change something, don't expect other people to change for you. You have to change so you can create your own changes.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's like when you get to that point where you realize like the billionaire is not going to change. Like they don't need to. They really don't need. You can be mad at them all they want, but they don't care. They have enough money to not even know who you are. So why are you trying to put out the energy like that? Like, take the negative energy that you feel towards them, change it towards the positive energy you feel about making real change in the world. And then you won't care about them anymore. And then next thing you know, maybe you have the same amount of money they do, and you're just doing a better thing with it, and you figure it out when you get there. But if you just hate on, because I've been that person too, you hate why are these athletes able to make
everybody
X
else
amount of money? You get paid $100 million just to throw a baseball out like 50 times a year, like but at the same time, it's like, who cares? That's what that is what they get to do. That is absolutely, because somehow that's what the route that they went. But if you become negative on them, that's just going to create negativity in your life, which is going to block you from getting to that position. So, I mean, don't ever say it's impossible. So, keep yourself open to receiving those things, because if you close yourself off from receiving wealth like that, you just won't get it. And then you're just going to be angry. That's just going to create more of a block from it coming in.
No, we can all do it and learn from people that have done it before. If other people can do it, why not us? I mean, that's definitely how people should be thinking, and not holding or wasting your energy on, like complaining all the time, like why him, why them, why everybody, because that can be energy spent for something else that you can be just like them, reach their, like, if you want to put in a level or whatever it is, like you can, it's possible. If they did it, why can't you? It's the possibilities are out there. Is just putting the energy wherever you want to build.
Yeah. Just put the energy out there what you want to build, and how you want to use it to unify others. Like, just keep it in the positive approach, because then you have nothing to feel bad about as you get up there. You just keep helping everybody out, keep creating things that help provide a better future. So that's it. It can really be that simple.
Exactly. And then that's exactly what I felt about 4 weeks ago. I have that like a food connection over here, like probably like 2-3 miles away from here. Like, it felt so humble just to be able to be there and hand out food for people that needed it. Like, I never felt I was like, oh my God, like, you don't feel better. You don't feel higher than them. You don't feel lower than them. You're just happy to be there, to see them being so happy that they get to smile about it. And you're like, oh my God, this is such a great feeling. Just helping them out, like just handing them food. And it brought me to a sense that nothing else matters. Like you're here to help people, because if you're going to be the type of person that is going to feel better or less than others, then there's nowhere you can really go. Like, literally, because you're holding yourself back. But by putting yourself that energy and seeing people feel better about themselves, you're going to feel better about yourself, and everybody around you is going to feel great. And that's what I kind of learned from that. I was just like, oh man, I got to do it more often, because if you don't, you forget that you have all these things going on, like, working, paying bills, staying on top of your stuff, and you get lost in something like kind of robotic, that you're like, you forget like the human side of it. Like, oh, like, what if I can, help someone right now, and to see how that feels like, because you forget what those emotions are. And that's what I kind of felt like, oh my God, this is a great emotion. Like, even just to feel it and being there. and recreating that by helping your communities, having that feeling over and over, and other people feeling it, then everything's just gonna be built. Like, you can build your empire. Like, everyone's gonna have their empire, and everyone's gonna feel that way.
Right.
So it's very, very, very well experience that I had. So it's like you said, it's whatever energy you want to get put out there is the energy you're gonna get. And if you wanna focus on other things and like hold on to something personally, years can go by, and next thing you know, there's nothing to be done. You've been doing nothing, just thinking about that for ages, and you wasted your life.
Yeah, and I don't know why this like analogy just kind of popped in my head. Let's see if I can get it to come out right. It's like we all don't have to have the same house to feel equal. We just have to be happy with the houses we create. You know, like, because it's like, in other words, like we don't have to live in the same suburban neighborhood where all the houses have to look exactly the same, all the lawns have to be cut the same exact way, and all the, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be the cookie cutter thing, but at the same time, like, let's say someone's super creative and they build this giant house because they felt like it, you know, they're allowed to do that just as much as you're like, no, I'm cool with this like 2-bedroom house, or this, I'm in studio apartment, you know what I mean? Like, but because then when you're happy with you, then you didn't need that big house, you know, but someone else was just like, I just want to do it, you know, and they're allowed to do that as well. So it's like, and then it's like not being like, oh, look at that person building that house. It's almost like, oh, that's a cool place. Let me go over and like introduce myself to that person and like see if I can get a tour, you know. But it's just like enjoy it, you know. Don't constantly be so negative about what other people have, and you don't just enjoy it. And then if you desire more, go at it with a positive attitude, and you'll accumulate it, you know. But if you just hate on it and hate on it and hate on it, it just will never appear.
Yeah, we're stuck forever, over and over. We repeat cycle, and then you live the same day over and over and over, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh my god, where do I press stop?
Yeah, that's the world of paradox. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let us know what you thought below in the comments. And also don't forget you can subscribe as well.
Yeah, and then, like I said, you guys can find us on our Instagram and on YouTube. Like Jay said, subscribe at Projecting Your Own Reality. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.